So this actually happened last week. It just took me some time to come to terms with it. I got a phone call from my next-door neighbor late in the evening asking if I can help him move a mattress into his upstairs. His mom is ill and has a big, heavy sleep number bed. I, of course, ran over to help because they're great neighbors. I get over there and his friend, who was also a priest, was there to help. I helped him figure out how to separate the mattress from the bed so we could fit it upstairs. We get it all moved up and back in place when my neighbor asks if I can help them move an armoire upstairs too. I think nothing of it. We pull it out of his travel trailer and start bringing it up the front stairs of his house. This is where I died. The front stairs are 11 steps. I was on the lower end of the armoire, about 6 steps up, when my neighbor and his friend lose a handle on the armoire. It comes crashing down on me, and I fall backwards towards the pavement. I then wake up in my dining room to my phone ringing and my wife. It's asking me if I'm going to answer the phone. It's my neighbor asking me if I can help move a bed upstairs for his mom. I go over there and meet his priest friend again. As this has been the first time I met him, I say I can help with the bed, but I cannot help with the armoire. My neighbor was like, "How'd you know about the armoire?" I then proceeded to tell them, I'm pretty sure I just died. I spent the next hour talking with the priest. He had so many questions. My neighbor didn't believe it until I described the upstairs bedroom in perfect detail. I had never been upstairs in their house before. The priest asked me what I saw after I died. I told him I'd never actually died. Before it happened, I woke up at my dining room table. This technically happened last night, but I was just starting a graveyard shift and I'm only now getting it all down. I work at a gas station chain with only numbers in its name. We're just outside of a large chunk of suburbs. None of that middle of nowhere. Like we aren't exactly near any other businesses, but we are rarely completely dead for hours at a time. It was just past midnight. With everything going on in the US right now, not a lot of things other than gas stations and bars are open at night anymore, so it was a slower evening. I was the only one in the store. A car pulled up to one of double-sided pumps out front. Pretty standard white four-door. I'm not great with car brands, but it was a little nicer, like upper middle class and probably only a few years old. A woman gets out and starts walking towards our door like she's in a daze. Legit, this woman looked like she saw a ghost. She wanders up, sort of freezes at the door for a second with a 1,000-yard stare before opening it and coming in. She didn't go looking for anything, didn't start shopping. She just sort of stood inside for what felt like ages again. Our bars are still open, so I think maybe she's a little drunk or had a rough night or something. So I give the usual welcome to gas station, let me know if you need any help finding anything. She finally notices me and immediately asks the weirdest damn question I have ever been asked on the job. You can see me, right? Yeah, like what else do you say? She breaks down crying in the middle of my store, so I'm already headed around the corner to see what's up. I have my cell phone out in case I need to call the cops or something for her. I get her to sit down on a nearby pallet of soda. I'm grabbing her a bottle of water, and after she catches her breath a little, she tells me I thought I had died. Again, I'm thinking maybe she is on something. But she's a middle-aged woman who looks like a standard local suburban housewife. We're a pretty boring township without your average junkies like you'd find closer to the cities. So she asks if she can call her husband to pick her up and wait with me. She has her own phone and does so. She's not really telling him anything either, just where she is at and if he can come get her. He says he'll call an Uber and be there as soon as possible. We're waiting. So far, nobody else has showed up. So I'm keeping most of my attention on her, and eventually she starts to explain to me. I was driving home from dinner with my coworkers, and as I'm driving through an intersection, a truck ran a red light and hit me. Her car is still at the pump without a scratch on it. She goes on to say she remembers her car being pushed into a pole. It's going airborne, and then nothing. I tried to calm her down, letting her know that her car is out front and it looks fine. She insisted that she completely blacked out. Woke up in an ambulance for a split second, passed out again, and then woke up again in the driver's seat of her car at the intersection, waiting for the light to change. Perfectly fine. This whole thing freaked her out so badly that she drove to the nearest anything just so she could get out of the car. Husband eventually showed up to get her. He asked if I had any idea what happened, and even though she sort of explained to me, I just shrugged because no. I had no idea what was happening anymore. She reluctantly got into the passenger seat of the car, and he drove them back home. That was hours ago. After which I worked an entire shift at the station trying to wrap my head around what the absolute hell I had just witnessed. I live in very rural southern Appalachia. Yesterday I was going over to the next county to look at lawnmower. It is an area I'm very familiar with, although I haven't been to the area in over a year. While on the way, I came upon a town that has never been there before. Now, there is a small community there, and it was by the same name. But this was a full-fledged small town. Had a couple red lights. A main street with probably 15 to 20 storefronts, everything. I was so taken aback I stopped in the middle of the road. After a few moments, a car behind me honked the horn, so I pulled into a parallel spot and got out. Now the small towns in my area are all the same. Tiny, dingy, run down. Had a heyday in the 50s and 60s, but all have fallen into disrepair. Not this one. Everything was pristine and new-looking. Swept sidewalks, shiny windows, and clean brick. The people I saw were dressed in modern clothes and had the same appearance that most people in the area have. Healthy, but weather-beaten and aged beyond their years. The vehicles I saw were fairly modern. New to 20 years old, nothing out of the ordinary. I walked into the little restaurant called Cream of the Crop Cafe. It looked like every other little restaurant in the area. Booths and tables. A bar top with a register and the kitchen behind it. Some cheesy James Dean and Marilyn Monroe pictures on the walls. I walked up to the girl at the counter and asked her where I was. She seemed puzzled, because I could tell she knew I was local by my attire and my accent. But she said Minneapolis. I said, so this is Minneapolis. When did they build all this? Again, she looked puzzled and said, I don't know, the 1800s sometime. I couldn't handle anymore, so I just left. Got in my truck and went on to look at the lawnmower. On my way back, about an hour later, there was Minneapolis, like it should be. A couple houses and an old general store. No town, no red lights, no cafe, no sidewalks. It freaked me out. I've never experienced such as this, as I'm pretty mundane and boring. It wasn't an hallucination, I don't think. Everything else was the same. Wasn't a dream, so I don't know. First off, let me preface by saying I have been through Minneapolis several times since the occurrence, and it is still the same. Nothing has been out of the ordinary. Now on to update. I was in Walmart today. I ran into the young lady who I spoke to at the non-existent restaurant in the non-existent town. I passed her in an aisle and we locked eyes. She had a look of a vague recognition, while I simply froze. She continued on her way, but once I snapped out of my daze, I made it a point to be in almost every aisle she went down. It sounds kind of creepy and stalkerish, I know. Finally, after locking eyes with her for the third time, she asked, "Where do I know you from?" I told her I didn't know, but she looked familiar too and asked if we went to school together. She informed me that she went to the neighboring high school, graduated 5 years after me. Grew up in Minneapolis. We didn't have any mutual friends. Didn't ever attend the same barn parties, nor did we know each other's spouses. She pressed on, saying something along the line of, "You are just so familiar. I feel like we've met before." I couldn't hold it back, and I blurted out the story. Everything from Minneapolis being a full-fledged town, to the restaurant, to her working the counter, and her bewilderment at my questions. She gave an awkward laugh and said, "No, that's not it," and hurried away. I think I freaked her out. But she knew there was some connection but didn't know what it was. Just a little while ago, she added me as a friend on Facebook, but hasn't tried to contact me. I'm not going to press the issue, but if she ends up asking questions, I guess I'll answer them.